You have to click on continue. Okay. Did you allow the recording?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Can you see that I did?
Recording in progress. Okay. All right. Very good.
Great.
So let me start with one small prayer. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvighna Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Atha Dhyanam Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gaganasadrusham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalanayanam Yogibhirdhyanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikkanatham. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now you can play to the prayer. Namaste.
Namaste.
So today I'm going to chant Bhagavad Gita. My previous chanting was about Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So I want to talk a little bit. Most of you know that for students of yoga, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is a very important work. And Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is considered as Yoga Shastra, which means it is a science of yoga. And science means it has given a formula for the yoga practice in order to reach the goal of yoga. Now you have to understand that in the Patanjali, the goal of yoga is a classical goal, which is reaching the samadhi state, followed by liberation of the soul. This reaching the samadhi state, followed by the liberation of the soul, is required because, according to the Indian philosophy, the goal of human life is to get rid of all the sorrows in the human existence, rather than trying to achieve the happiness in the human existence. They believe that all the activities in the human life ultimately reach incomplete satisfaction and not full satisfaction. And that is why little bit of sorrow, medium amount of sorrow, or a lot of sorrow will always exist in the human life. So they want to get rid of the sorrow completely, and that is called Nishreyas, also called as moksha or liberation of the soul, so that the soul is not born in a bodily form with a karma. So this requires first achieving the samadhi state, which is described in the Patanjali as yogaha chitta vritti nirodha, followed by kaivalya. Now, this method of reaching the Nishreyas is called classical yoga, as given in the Patanjali. All other systems of yoga, such as Hatha Yoga or Kundalini Yoga or Laya Yoga, they ultimately merge into the classical system. After following those systems, you will ultimately merge into the classical system where the samadhi state and liberation of the soul has to be achieved. So this is the yogic path. Now, Indian philosophy has many more paths to reach the same goal. Many times these paths themselves are called yoga, such as karma yoga, where one has to perform the actions or activities of the life without expecting a fixed fruit. You expect the fruit, but you accept whatever the fruit comes and move on to the next activity. In this process, all the activity drops and the person reaches what is called naishkarmya. That means a stage where all the activities are performed without creating any new karma. There is another path called Jnana Yoga, where one has to contemplate in such a way that all the things other than the existence of the soul or even the Brahman are negated. So one leads the life in such a way that all the things which do not directly associate with Brahman are negated, and the person reaches a state of renunciation, followed by realization of the individual self or universal self, and that is called Jnana Yoga. In the same way, the next method is called Bhakti Yoga, which is the most common method, at least in India. I think it is common in the world, most common in the world, where one has to lead a path of devotion to chosen ideal. And when that devotion matures, the person loses the ego, and all the other benefits such as concentration of mind, gaining of knowledge, selfless work automatically take place in the case of such a devotee, and the devotee is automatically liberated from the karmic existence. This method is considered the highest in the Indian philosophy. And most of the yogis who reached samadhi state and followed by liberation, they come under the category of bhakti yoga. And then there are many other methods which are combination of these four methods. Now, the reason to tell this whole thing is that many yoga students, they have a misunderstanding that Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is the most important text on yoga. That is not the fact. Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is the most important text on classical yoga and not on yoga. Yoga has many methods, as I explained, and all these methods are described in Vedanta, which is the sixth Indian philosophy, just like yoga philosophy. Vedanta is the most comprehensive Indian philosophy, and yoga philosophy is considered subordinate to the Vedanta philosophy, or sometimes it is considered part of the Vedanta philosophy. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, he has already incorporated Bhakti Yoga to some extent by adding Ishvara to the elements of Sankhya Yoga. So, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali or Patanjali's yoga system is basically a Sankhya Yoga system with addition of Ishvara, which automatically leads to Bhakti Yoga. My personal understanding is without the Ishvara or devotion path, it is impossible to reach Patanjali's goal. Even if you follow Ashtanga Yoga, it is impossible. Without the following of the Bhakti Yoga, it is impossible to follow. This particular topic was taken up by me in my last speech, I think on the Yoga Day. So you can look at that video. So anyway, the Vedanta philosophy is the most comprehensive philosophy, and this philosophy is summarized into one text, which is considered as the highest text in the Indian philosophy. This text is called Srimad Bhagavad Gita, or just Bhagavad Gita, or sometimes only Gita. Now, the interesting part of Gita is a very lucid text, and it is not yoga science. It is not a scientific text. So it doesn't give any formula. And it has 18 chapters, and all these chapters describe different paths to get to the same goal of Nishreyas. And one student of Bhagavad Gita should understand that he is not supposed to follow all the paths given in the Bhagavad Gita. He is supposed to understand the Bhagavad Gita and then choose what is according to the student's background and aptitude and follow that path. Sometimes the paths given in the Bhagavad Gita contradict each other in the verbal fashion. So in the verbal fashion, it looks like he's telling one thing in one chapter and completely opposite thing in the other chapter. But the purpose is to follow the path according to one's goal as well as one's aptitude and background. Now, the last thing which I want to tell you is that Bhagavad Gita is a dharma text. Dharma means it tells a person what is the person's duty in the life, in the common life which a person leads day to day, and also in personal spiritual life. So Bhagavad Gita is comprehensive in the sense of social life as well as personal life to get to spiritual goal. Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is only individual personal goal of reaching the samadhi state. Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is not meant for social life at all. Many people try to link ahimsa, non-violence, truth, etc. given in the Yoga Sutras to the social good, which is not correct at all, because Patanjali gives these methods in order to achieve samadhi state and not for social good. There is no text in the entire Patanjali which says social good should be achieved or no one should be killed for social good. Everything is pointing to personal goal. Whereas Bhagavad Gita is a dharma text which is for social good, as well as it gives method for personal salvation. Now I am going to start chanting Bhagavad Gita today, and I might comment little bit, not giving such a big commentary. I gave this introduction because it is very important for the student of yoga. So I will let John play a little bit and then I will chant part by part Bhagavad Gita, first chapter maybe, or second chapter part of it. And we will continue this process for some time. Thank you for listening. So in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it describes Arjuna's state of mind. Arjuna has reached a place in life where he has to fight a war with bad people. And unfortunately, the bad people are his relatives. So he has a dilemma that he doesn't want to fight a war with his relatives. If it were not his relatives, he will be quite happy to fight that war. And with his skill, he would have won that war by this time. But because the relatives are on the other side and his teachers, he is emotionally overtaken and doesn't want to fight the war. So it is now describing the arguments of Arjuna as to what he feels when he sees that the enemy side is containing his relatives and the teachers. So I will sing from that place where he has seen these relatives. Krupaya paraya vishto vishidanidama pravit drishtvam swajanam krishna yuyutsum samupasthitam Sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishushati vepatusha sharire me rumaharshascha jayate gandivam srausate hastat Chaiva paridayate na cha shaknomyavastatum Brahmati vachame manaha nimittani cha pashyami विपरीतानि केशव न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च किं नो राज्येन गोविन्द किं भोगैर्जीवितेन वा येषामर्थे काङ्क्षितं नो राज्यं भोगा सुखानि च त इमेव स्थिता युद्धे प्राणान् त्यक्त्वा धनानि च आचार्याः पितरः पुत्रास् तथैव च पितामहाः मातुलाः श्वशुराः पौत्राः शालाः सम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान् हन्तुमिच्छामि घ्नतोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य हेतोः किं नु महि कृते निहत्यधास्त्रानक्यापीतिस् निहत्यधास्त्राष्टानस्का प्रीतिः स्यात् जनार्दन पापमेवाशयेदस्मान् हत्वैतानाततायिनः तस्मान्नार्हा वयं हन्तुं धातराष्ट्रान् स्वबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखनः स्याम समाधव. So far Arjuna has said that he is totally confused. He should not fight the war, and he is now feeling scared of fighting, and all his limbs are giving up, and he wants to not fight. So I will request John to play now with this theme in mind. Wonderful. Now, the Arjuna has told what is happening to himself in the war, and he expressing that he doesn't want to fight. But Arjuna is talking to Lord Krishna, who is his guru and a friend at the same time. So as a friend, he told that he doesn't want to fight. But suddenly he realizes that Krishna is his guru. So he wants to now give a logic why he doesn't want to fight. So Arjuna is now suddenly giving a lot of logic, which looks like a very wise logic from the philosophy, that why he should not fight all these people. So that comes next. Yatyapyete na pashyanti lobhopahat chetasaha kulakshaya krutam dosham मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः पापादस्मान्निवर्तितुम् कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्माः सनातनाः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम् अधर्मो विभवत्युत अधर्मा भववात् कृष्ण प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दृष्टासु वाष्णेय जायते वर्णसंकरः संकरो नरकायैव कुलघ्नानां कुलस्य च पतन्ति पतरो येषां लुप्तपिण्डोदकक्रियाः दोषरेतैः कुलघ्नानां वर्णसंकरकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः उत्सन्नकुलधर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतं वासो भवतीत्यनुशुश्रुम अहो बत महत्पापं कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयं यद्राज्यसुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनमुद्यताः यदि मामप्रतीकारम् अशस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः धातृराष्ट्रारणे हन्युस्तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत् एवमुक्त्वार्जुनः संख्ये रथोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य सशरं चापं शोकसंविघ्नमानसः. So he gives the logic that if I fight, I will be creating lot of sins and I will be killing people, and all the people who are I'm killing, they are my teachers who taught me in my childhood, and they're the wives of all the killed soldiers, they will become widows, and then they will be raped by other people, and that will create a mixed breed, and that will create a lot of what is called as sankara, which means mixed breeding throughout the society, and the society will lose the purity. And also he said at the end that it is better for me to become a beggar and give up this war and run away from this war rather than enjoying the kingdom after winning this war. So he tells all this logic to Krishna and tells that this war is nothing but against dharma, and he stops his activity and he sits down in the chariot. That is where it ends. So the last statement of this first chapter will be Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nam Prathamodhyaya. So the name given to this chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. That means the yoga of becoming sad. The yoga of becoming sad. So becoming sad is the first chapter in the yoga student's life, according to the Indian philosophy. Unless you become sad, you are not a yoga student at all. You have to first become a sad person. Then you look for the solution to that sadness. And in that process, you reach the Nishreyas. So if you are enjoying the material life, then you have still not become a student of yoga. That is why in the Bhagavad Gita, first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. That means the yoga of Arjuna becoming very sad. So I will ask John to play now without becoming sad. So now in the second chapter, the Lord Krishna comes into picture, and you will notice that Lord Krishna does not become sad. He is well balanced, and he is not a person who wants to sympathize with a sad friend who has a wrong logic by becoming sad himself. So you will find that this is quite different from what Patanjali says. Patanjali says, Maitri Karuna Muditopekshanam Sukha Dukha Punya Punya Vishayanam Bhavanatas Chitta Prasadanam. That means if somebody is sad, you should also show that you are sad. You may not be actually sad, but you have to show that you are sad. And you have to develop this feeling. That means you have to develop compassion to the sad people, and you have to develop a attitude of encouragement to the happy people, etc. So in the Patanjali, he says this will lead to chitta prasadanam, means it will lead to a placid state of mind, and that placid state of mind is required for meditation. Without the mind being placid, you cannot meditate. So the Patanjali system is totally meditation oriented system and not yoga exercise system like Hatha Yoga. So in Patanjali, he wants you to make your mind placid. Whereas in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is not becoming sad, or he's not showing that, he's not telling Arjuna that, yeah, it's okay that you became sad. He's directly asking him, what's wrong with you? You are supposed to be a warrior, and your duty is to protect the disadvantaged society and not become compassionate to your relatives who are bad people on the other side. So Krishna is now going to ask him, what's wrong with you? That is the part I'm going to sing now. Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tatha Krupaya Ashrupurnakule Kshanam Vishidantamidam Vakyam Vacha Madhusudanaha Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupasthitam Anarya Jushtamaswargam Akirtikaram Arjuna Klaibyam Masmagamah Partho Naitattvai Upapadyate Shudram Hrudara Daurvalyam Tyaktvo Tishta Parantapa. Okay, John. So now that Lord Krishna very strongly asked Arjuna, what's wrong with you? Arjuna is now going to give more logic, which looks like a knowledge. So it is not only the dharma logic, but now he's going to give more knowledge, logic which is containing knowledge, such as soul and what happens to karma, etc. This kind of logic he gives in order to support his actions. So this happens a lot. Like generally, a person who is psychologically affected, he goes to the psychologist and tells him why he is doing all these things. So uh, Arjun is now giving the logic of why he is doing this kind of cowardice act. Arjuna uvacha katham bhishmamaham sankhye द्रोणं च मधुसूदन इषुभिः प्रतियोत्स्यामि पूजारावरिसूदन गुरून् हत्वा हि महानुभावान् श्रेयो भोक्तुं भैक्षमपीह लोके हत्वार्थकामांस्तु गुरूनिहैव भुञ्जीय भोगान् रुधिरप्रदिग्धान् न चैतद्विद्मः कतरन्नो गरीयो यद्वा जयेम यदि वा नो जयेयुः याने हत्वा जीविषामस्तेव स्थिता प्रमुखे धातराष्ट्राः कार्पण्यदोषोऽपतस्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्म सम्मूढचेता यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् न हि प्रपश्यामि ममापनुद्यात् यच्छोकमुच्छोषणेन्द्रियाणाम् अवाप्य भूमावसपत्नमृद्धम् राज्यं सुराणामपि च मादिचाधिपत्यम् एवमुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशं गुडाकेशः परन्तप न योत्स्य इति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णं बभूवः. So Arjuna gives the logic in a very subtle way of why he doesn't want to fight. But after some time, he comes to know that he's talking too much and Lord Krishna is not talking. So he suddenly tells, he remembers that Lord Krishna knows more than him. So he tells him that, oh, I talked so much, now I'm confused. So exactly tell me what I should do. And I'm your disciple. So he says, I'm your disciple and I'm having this problem. I'm not able to fight. All my limbs are become paralyzed, and I want to know. I'm your. By the way, I'm your student. So you tell me what I should do. That's where it ends here. So John, please. So now Lord Krishna is going to tell him the answer to his state of mind. And Lord Krishna gives a smile, and then he says to him, chapter number 2, which is the Sankhya Yoga. And this Sankhya is not same as the Sankhya Yoga in Patanjali. This Sankhya means knowledge, Kya means to know, and Sankhya means total knowledge. So he is now giving a knowledge to Arjuna about what Arjuna told. In response to that, he's giving him the correct knowledge, because Arjuna's knowledge is covered with the emotions about his friends, relatives, and wrong ideas about the dharma. And Krishna is now going to correct him. You have to know that in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 2 is talking about the knowledge, and chapter number 3 is talking about the karma, that is duty. These two are the most important chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. So if one doesn't have time to read all the Upanishad, they should read only Bhagavad Gita. And if they don't have time to read the whole Bhagavad Gita, they should read only chapter 2 and 3, which contains the entire logic. And in Patanjali, there is nothing like that. In Patanjali, you must read the entire Patanjali to understand. So it is totally wrong to give 5 sutras for RYT 200 and 10 sutras for RYT 500. Yeah, and only talk about Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodh and forget it. It doesn't work like that. In Patanjali, you have to know each and every sutra. So I think I will be writing my Patanjali commentary in the next 2 years. So that Patanjali is different from Bhagavad Gita. That's what I'm trying to tell you. In Bhagavad Gita, you can only read one verse and try to understand the entire thing. Whereas in Patanjali, you cannot do like that. You have to study the whole thing. It's a mathematical formula. Patanjali is a mathematical formula, step 1 to step 196. Whereas in Bhagavad Gita, it is all scattered, different verses for different people, and they should tune. It is like different radio stations. You should tune to whichever suits you, and you should entertain yourself. So now I will tell you what the Lord Krishna said, and I may not sing the entire thing, but I'll sing at least 10. Sanjay Uvacha Tamuvacha Rishikesha Prahasanniva Bharata Senayorubhayor Madhye Vishidantamidam Vachaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochanan Vashochasvam Prajnavadanshya Bhasase Gatasuragatasungscha Nanushocanti Panditaha Natvevaham Jatunasam Natvam Neme Janadhipaha Nachaiva na bhavishyamaha Sarve Vayamata Param Dehinosmin Yatha Dehe Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara Tatha Dehantara Praptir Dhirastatra Namayati Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukhadukkhadaha Agamapayino Nityans Tanti Tikshasva Bharata Yam hi navyathayantyete Purusham Purusharshabha Samadukha Sukham Dhiram Somrutattvaya Kalpate Nasate Vidyate Bhavo Na Bhavo Vidyate Sataha Ubhayorapi Drushtontas Vanayostattvadarshibihi Avinashitadvidhi Yena Sarvamidam Tatam Vinashamavyavyasya Nakaschit Kartumarhati. अंतवंत इमे देहा नित्यस्योक्ता शरीरिणः अनाशिनो प्रमेयस्य तस्माद्युध्यस्व भारत। य एनं वेत्ति हन्तारं यश्चैनं मन्यते हतम् उभौ तौ न विजानीतो नायं हन्ति न हन्यते न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे वेदा विनाशिनं नित्यम् एनमजवम् अव्ययम् कथं स पुरुषः पार्थ कं घातयति हन्तिकम् वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि न्यन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि नैनं छन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः अच्छेद्योऽयम् अदाह्योऽयम् अक्लेद्योष्य शोष्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतस्थाणु रचलोऽयं सनातनः अव्यक्तोऽयम् अचिन्त्योऽयम् अविकार्योऽयमुच्यते तस्मादेवं विदित्वैनं नानुशोचितुमर्हसि अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैवं शोचितुमर्हसि जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर्ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मादपि अपरिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि। अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेनम् आश्चर्यवत् वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैनमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित् देहि नित्यम् अवध्योऽयं देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि। So in this he has told that the soul is immortal and you cannot kill anybody because a soul is immortal and we are soul and not bodies and mind. So you should not worry about somebody dying. You should do your duty, and if somebody dies you should not worry or too much be sad about it, because everybody takes the birth and goes to the next life according to that karma. So he's later going to tell him that your main thing is you should do your duty, whatever that duty is. So he has described in the previous verses the immortality of the soul. Okay, John. So, so far he has told him the logic based on the immortality of the soul, and we will stop here. Is approximately half of the second chapter, which is called Sankhya Yoga, and I will let John conclude it with at least 3 minutes improvisation, which summarizes the entire thing. Some more, John?
More.
Yeah, some more.
Neil, I want to say before I play more, I have learned so much from you. It's a deep honor to provide this music. And for those of you listening, I'm easy to find through my good friend Neil. We are spiritual brothers. So I'll play a little bit more music for you. And I hope you enjoy this. It is my deep honor to play for you.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you, Neil. Thank
Yeah.
you to all of our friends.
We'll meet again.
Yes, we shall.